been a while since the last video. I've been kind of slacking off a little bit over the winter. Worked when I could. Weather wasn't great, but did manage to get the front porch finished. Got it framed last weekend. Finished it up, that is, and now we're ready to do the roof sheathing. So I thought I'd just go through the whole process while everything's exposed. Talk about all the bits and pieces and how they're put together. So let's start with the foundation. Foundation is concrete block that is sitting on concrete footings. Footings are about 24 inches deep. They are about 30 by 30 inches and about 9 inches thick. The block's anchored to the footings with rebar, and the cores are filled, so it's all one monolithic thing. The floor is framed with 2x8 pressure treated, just regular 2x8 pressure treated. There's a double beam on each side and another double beam down the middle. And the joists are 16 inches on center. The ledger is attached to the house with these structural screws. This is a 5-inch Simpson structural screw, coated so it can be used in pressure treated lumber. Those are going through the ledger and through the sheathing and are fully embedded in the rim joist that is down in the crawl space and is sitting on the piers down in the crawl space. Those are 16 inches on center offset. Other connectors that we used, got some 1/2-inch lag bolts and 1/2-inch, well actually carriage bolts, and some 1/2-inch lag screws. All of the beams and posts are connected with those, and then the rafters are attached with these 5-inch screws, face screwed through the rafter into the beam, into the ridge beam, and then they've got some 4-inch and 3-inch screws that are toe-nailed in, 2 of those, one on each side. Let's look at a little detail on the way the posts are connected. So the perimeter beams for the floor are connected to the concrete post with those masonry bolts, and then the posts are connected to those beams with 1/2-inch carriage bolts. And I spaced them, I use these to space them up off the masonry so they don't suck up a lot of water. And I think I'm just going to attach those there, and that'll act like a shim. So there's what the bolts look like on that side. I countersunk them a little bit, so when I put the trim on there, it won't be bumped out at all. And I flashed the beams just to keep water from getting in between the pieces, since they've been sitting out here since like December. Also on the side, I stuck another 6x6 post underneath that post, and that is sitting on a footing as well. And I dipped it in asphalt waterproofing before I sunk it in the ground. That's what the black stuff is. The beams are 4x8s. They're actually 2x8s glued and screwed together, and the posts are notched. The beams are sitting on top of the posts, and they're connected with lag screws. And the beams, the perimeter beams and the ridge beam, they all penetrate the wall, and they They penetrate through about 5 inches, and they're sitting on studs, and they're also screwed into studs. So they're well supported. So laterally, it's very stable in both directions. Got the rafter ridge beam holding the roof up, so there's very little outward pressure on the perimeter beams. And as you can see, the ridge is supported on both sides. Here's what the other end looks like. Sun's kind of bad. Now the rafters are 2x8. All the lumbers for the porch, except for the floor, is rough sawn cedar. These are 2x8, and they are 24 inches on center. And the blocking between them is 2x8, and it's cut to the angle of the roof on top. And then lastly, the fascia board is 2x6, cut at an angle, ripped at an angle at the top to match the roof. Plywood will slip over that. And then the last thing to do, now that it's framed, is to put the decking on. And since this is a vaulted ceiling, the decking is going to be the ceiling. So it's actually 2 layers of decking. This tongue and groove cedar is going down first. It's going to be primed and then probably painted light blue or yellow or something like that. And then on top of that will be 1/2-inch plywood. I don't think this is really structurally strong enough to be safe to walk on, so I'm going to put some plywood on top of that. So that's what we'll do next. And then it's just about warm enough to do shingles, so for once I can actually put shingles on after I build something instead of leaving it exposed for half a year. So that'll be nice. See you next time.